This is Liz Frenzel with Crawford Media Group, and today our guest is Walker Wildmon, Vice President of American Family Association and CEO of AFA Action, their government affairs affiliate. We'll be talking about the recent findings from a study showing that Google's media bias favors Harris over Trump. Welcome to our program, Walker.
Hey, Liz. Thanks so much for having me on.
Walker, tell us a little bit about AFA and what their mission is before we talk about this study.
Well, AFA began back in 1977, and we've become one of the largest pro-family organizations in the country. And we promote families on the front of culture and media and entertainment, and also in government as well. And we're a Christian organization, so our core values and our vision all reflect a biblical worldview. And we aim to advance that in society and government at every level. And so that's what we're doing today, some 45 plus years later.
That's such a good mission. I know I'm personally involved with your organization, and it is good. You guys are doing such a great job. Tell us about this, the Google study that you've come across.
Yeah, many people use Google. I mean, I use Google on occasion for search results, and of course they have a whole suite of products. But when it comes to their Google search engine, which is what they're known for, the results, we've all known that the search results are rather liberal, right? If you search for a news story or something, you're going to get some of the left-wing media outlets as the top trending links on your Google search.
Right.
But more recently with the election, Media Research Center, which is headed up by Brent Bozell, he did a study on whether Google was kind of weighing in with their algorithm on the 2024 election. So they basically did searches of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris regarding the 2024 race, and they found that Kamala Harris's campaign website and other favorable sources were rated much higher than those of Donald Trump's when you search the same type search keywords with Donald Trump. So you search, for example, you search Donald Trump's presidential race 2024, you're going to get some very liberal, left-wing bias when you look at those search results. You do the same thing for Kamala Harris, and of course all the sources are fawning over Kamala Harris. So this is blatant, but Media Research Center, they really uncovered what we all thought was true, and that is Google is manipulating the algorithm for Kamala Harris this cycle. But this leads us to a larger point, because it's one thing to just point out a fact that Google is liberal. That's not a new phenomenon. What is interesting, though, is that companies like Google are, in my opinion, participating in an in-kind campaign contribution. So what does that mean? Mm-hmm. Well, you can donate cash to a candidate for public office, and that shows up in FCC filings. Or you can donate what I call, and what is historically known by the IRS, as an in-kind contribution to a charity or a campaign. Well, what Google's doing by intentionally going in and favoring Kamala Harris in their search engine results and disfavoring Donald Trump is they are effectively making an in-kind campaign contribution, I believe, to the Harris campaign. So this is a very serious issue. I think legally it should be explored by the Federal Election Commission to see whether for-profit companies should be meddling around in elections and favoring candidates or not.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, which leads me to, big election coming up November 5th. And there's a lot of people going to put their ballots in. What do you say to those, the people, and how they should turn in their ballots?
Well, we have to, number one, be informed. And this is what often is the issue. I mean, there's, of course, a lot of ideologues out there that it doesn't matter what you tell them, they're going to vote how they want to vote, and that's fine. It's America. But there's also a lot of people that are really buying into a lot of misinformation and just don't know all the facts. And for example, Amendment 79 is on the ballot in the state of Colorado. This is a radical pro-abortion ballot amendment that is being pitched as this right to choose and women's reproductive rights. There's all these buzzwords that they're using to describe it. Mm-hmm. But in reality, this is going to legalize abortion all the way up to 9 months or 40 weeks gestation and allow public funds to be used for abortion. So this is a major left-wing Marxist pro-abortion ballot amendment that is in no way moderate or middle of the road. That's just one example. So there's a lot of misinformation on that. So we've got to educate voters. But I would say voters just need to be educated. We've got tons of resources, whether you're talking about iVoterGuide.com, which is our main voter guide website. We got tons of research there. Folks can key in their address, and we'll show them their personalized ballot and all the research on the candidates in their race. But that's what I would encourage people to be. Be informed and vote your values. That's the message that we need to send to everybody in our country, because there's a lot of people on the sidelines when it comes to not voting in elections, and that's not a good thing for our country.
No. So you're saying the iVoter Guide, it will specifically talk about the candidates for their own districts?
That's correct. Yeah, we built with iVoter Guide. We acquired iVoter Guide about 2 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, and it's the most sophisticated and advanced voter guide that's ever been in the country. What people can do is when they go to the iVoter Guide website, they'll just key in their address, their voting address, and we show you what your ballot is going to look like and have the research on all the candidates that are on your ballot. Of course, assuming we're covering the race. There's some local races that we just don't have the capacity to cover. But iVoter Guide provides you a personalized ballot so that you can be informed when you go to the ballot box.
So does that include the bills and the many, many bills that are going to be up for vote?
Yes, we are covering various bills or ballot amendments, as they're called, in various states. We're specifically, I know for sure, we're covering Amendment 79 in Colorado. We might be covering a few others. I'm not 100% certain, but we do our best to cover as many of those ballot amendments as we can. That's
huge, because when you look at that ballot and you even open the blue guide that comes with it, that's about a half an inch thick this time. It is so daunting and can be so confusing because the language that they use makes it sound like if you vote yes, it's actually voting no.
Yeah, this is the problem with the entire ballot amendment process, if we want to speak broadly about this, because this is going to be an issue. We're going to make this an issue over the next few years. The ballot amendment process is being abused. It's being abused by left-wing, Marxist, and even foreign groups in American elections, talking about George Soros and others, because the people go into the ballot booth and they don't know what they're voting for,
right?
Because the process in determining the language that's used on these ballot amendments is very confusing. It's a very convoluted process. So our opinion in the American Family Association and AFA Action is we either need to ditch this ballot amendment process altogether in various states, or we need to increase the threshold to 60%, meaning you need 60% of voters in the state to approve said amendment. So you have to have broad consensus on these ballot amendment issues. So we either need to ditch them altogether or increase the threshold to 60%, which is what Florida has done.
That would be good. How can we change what the media is doing, getting back to the whole Google search engine? It seems like such a Goliath. And, I think these last 4 years has been a wake-up call, and hopefully it's been a wake-up call for many to realize what could be if we don't do something about it.
Yeah, I encourage people to use reliable news sources, whether it's local, regional, or even some alternative conservative media outlets. Just don't just rely on the traditional old-school CNN and MSNBC, or even Fox News per se. We need to find trusted, even local journalists that are doing the hard grunt work on the ground, that know what's going on and they're reporting things from an honest perspective. We've just got to do our homework to find alternative media sources that are reliable.
Yeah, and that takes discernment, because there are so many. I mean, just look at what Google's done. You just search something and whatever, their leftist agenda comes up, and it sounds like that's the truth, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. People have to be aware because it's pretty, when you look at what they did to Joe Biden, I'm talking about what the media did to him. They were basically running interference for him for the last 3 years. And then all of a sudden, I don't know whether it was Obama or Clinton or who at the helm of the DNC said it's time to take out Biden, metaphorically. They did that. And the media turned on him within a matter of 24 hours and forced him to resign and step out of the race. So that just shows the power and the influence that the media conglomerates have. So we've really got to look other directions for our news and information. that's the only way we're going to break this stranglehold of Marxist left-wing propaganda that's coming out of these major media conglomerates.
Yeah. And I think it has, there's a responsibility for churches and pastors to really get their congregation up to speed with what's going on. Because if godly leaders, godly pastors, and godly voices remain silent or refuse to deal with issues related to politics or government, the only voices left are the godless ones.
Well, yeah, exactly, Liz. And this is what I say to people who are on the fence about, should I vote, should I not? This whole politics is a dirty business. Mm-hmm. God created government. So if you believe in the Bible, you believe in God's sovereignty, then you have to believe in the entirety of Scripture, which says that God created government. The institution of government was created by God. Well, if it was created by God, then we ought to be good stewards of it. So this is really a stewardship debate as to whether Christians are going to carry their stewardship out when it comes to civic engagement. And to your point, if Christians aren't involved, then we're relegating government to the pagans, to the unbelieving world. And when pagans take over governments throughout human history, very evil things happen. Yes. Every single time non-Christians and pagan unbelieving people take over government, it turns out very, very badly for humanity.
Absolutely. I think the whole church and state, I think, has been convoluted because that whole thing was created to keep state out of the churches.
That's right. Yeah, that's a misnomer, and anybody who does due diligence on that statement understands that the writer of it, I think it was Jefferson, actually wanted state out of he wanted state out of the church. There's no barrier with religion and Christianity and the church positively influencing government. That happens every day. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to influence government, but we don't need the government meddling around in religious freedom and the church.
Yeah. I saw something from Arizona Christian University saying that about 32 million Christians are projected to abstain from voting this election.
Yeah, I interviewed Dr. Barna the other day on my program, and those results are shocking. It's just unbelievable to know that many people are sitting on the sidelines. But I think this gets to a deeper issue of people not having a proper understanding of the Bible and Scripture and God's mandates. Mm-hmm. And that's why you're getting people sitting on the sidelines. So we just got to wake people up. And look, here's the kind of closing argument, if you will. We are called to be good stewards and to take care of and shepherd future generations, our offspring, our children, our grandchildren. And I don't want to be known 50 or 100 years from now for sitting on the sidelines. If our country goes to a bad place and we end up falling to Marxism and socialism, and our children and grandchildren are looking around going, what happened to this great America? I don't want to be known for sitting on the sidelines. So that's my compelling argument for why people should be involved in government and politics.
We've been visiting with Walker Wildmon, Vice President of American Family Association and CEO of AFA Action, their government affairs affiliate. And we've been talking about how Google has been manipulating their search engine to lean toward the Democratic Party and their far leftist agendas. Walker, would you tell us again where we can go to find out more about AFA and also to get that voter guide?
Absolutely. Yeah, our main website is just afa.net. That's afa.net. But if you want to check out our iVoter Guide, it's a great tool. We encourage anyone who's voting in this election cycle, which should be every eligible voter, to check out iVoterGuide.com. That's iVoterGuide.com. Key in your address, your voting address, and we'll provide you a personalized ballot with all the research you need.
Thank you, Walker, for joining us today.
Thank you, Liz.